today, the European Commission has published the legislative draft for the European digital, for the digital euro, for our CBDC.
And just to be clear, a digital euro will happen when?
That will be decided by the governors in Governing Council. We will decide that at the end of October, and then there will be another phase of piloting, experimenting, fine-tuning, because if and when we go, as will be decided by the Governing Council at large, we want to get it right. So we're not going to do a half start or a fake start. We will move with success.
When inflation first arrives, it's really due to very strong demand for goods and goods pipelines that just aren't working and shortages. So that's where it comes from. It wasn't about the labor market at all, right? Or very much. As we get to this stage and to looking forward, we think it will be significantly about getting the labor market, supply and demand, back in alignment. I would say it's a positive thing. I'll say it that way. It's a constructive thing that we've been able to raise rates 500 basis points with the expectation of going further, and we still have a very strong labor market, but nonetheless one that is in fact cooling in just the way we would have hoped, which is to say through things like lower job openings. Job openings are coming down. The quits level has returned to its pre-pandemic level. Wages have, if you look at employment compensation index or average hourly earnings, they've moved down about 1% towards more, still very high, but towards more, so a more sustainable level that's consistent with 2% inflation. So I would just say that's the makings of, if that process continues in a gradual way without really any effect on employment, the longer that goes on, the better. And in a way, I take that as a very constructive path. It is not guaranteed, but the fact that this is really there, and that's what's been happening for a year, more than a year into our tightening cycle, I would take as a positive thing and perhaps a hopeful one for the future.
Just be careful not to overdo it, right?
Right.
What about you, Governor Ueda?
Let's see. As other central banks are thinking of issuing digital monies, we are taking a different route, and we have decided to issue new currency bills starting next year.
You're going all in paper.
This will cheer up public's confidence in the BOJ. more seriously, as I said, wages have started to rise at 2% or so for the first time in 3 decades. More importantly, we are seeing as a sign of a change in inflation expectations, changes in price wage setting behavior of businesses. So previously, businesses hesitated to increase prices because if they did, others will not follow suit. Now say they are raising wages because if they didn't, they will have trouble recruiting workers because others are raising wages. We think this is a good sign for us.
So now is prediction time. In 1 year, when hopefully I'll be invited back, President Lagarde, inflation rate in the UK is what?
Well, our last forecast, we expected inflation to come back to target towards the end of next year. We're going to start the next forecast in about 2 weeks' time.
I was trying to
get a
jump
further
on
than that. Yes.
Yeah, I was trying to jump on that. Do you get to 2% by this time next year, President Lagarde?
Well, you said a year from now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so the projection we have is 3% for next year. Headline.
Will you be satisfied with that?
I want it to be timely. We all want it to be timely.
Timely, okay. Chair Powell?
I don't see us getting back to 2% this year or next year.
You don't?
No. I see us making progress, steady progress on, this is core inflation.
Yep.
Headline inflation is coming down now, it's lower than core. But for core inflation, I don't see us getting to 2% this year or next year. I see us getting there the year after.
2025?
Yeah.
Core inflation 2%. So you're going to be restrictive for a long time.
No, well, we will be restrictive as long as we need to be. But if inflation is coming down sharply and we're confident that it's on a path to 2%, that would be a different situation. You would begin to think about loosening policy, but we're a long way from that. That's not something we're thinking about now or in the near future.
Governor Ueda, are you going to get to the 2% by your measure?
So our projection as of April, inflation projection, has for 23 fiscal year, 1.8%, 1.8 headline, 2.0% for 24. Now, this makes my job of justifying underlying inflation rate staying below 2% a bit harder. But we keep saying that we don't have a lot of confidence in this 2024 forecast. This may change depending on the data to come out.
Do you guys feel you've been through a lot of hard moments, COVID and the inflationary challenge, and now we're starting to see economies weaken. Do you feel like it's a particularly difficult point in your central bank journeys, Governor Bailey?
Yeah, until we get inflation back down to target, we've got a very big job to do, and it's a job we have to do. Well, I don't know about stressful, but I think, look, we sign up for this job, and you don't get to determine the conditions that you do it in, so we just got to do it. I mean, that's our job.
For you, President Lagarde?
Likewise. Man's got to do what a man's got to do. We signed up for the job, and a woman's got to do what a woman's got to do as well. Thank you.
Chair Powell, haven't seen you stressed.
Sorry?
I haven't seen you stressed.
We have a job to do. We know that. We know that society's counting on us to do this job, and that it really matters. Price stability can matter for decades. It can benefit for people over time. I think we all know that, and we'll do the things that we need to do to restore it.
And Governor Ueda is feeling good.
I didn't know there was going to be so much traveling and so many press conferences.
Welcome to the world of central banking. Thank you all so much for taking the time today and all my questions. It was a pleasure. Thank you.